Hello and welcome everyone to episode 74 of Video Game Club. As always, I am your host Tyler, and just returning from his trip to Antarctica, it's Austin.
Hello.
Hello. And moving through the overworld like it's nothing, Mox.
Oh, that's not true, but thank you.
And back from the breach, we have Aaron.
I don't think I'll ever be the same.
Mox, how have you been?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm good. What have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade 3.
Ooh.
It is like I'm waiting, there's always a twist. I think that's the Xenoblade Chronicles way.
Yeah.
I really don't know what it's going to be, and that's usually how it is. And I just like there's a lot going on, and it is so different from 2 and even from 1.
And 1.
It's overwhelming. I don't know what they're going to do in 4. I assume there's going to be a 4.
I love the character class swapping stuff. Like any character can be any class. It's crazy.
I do like it, except when you need someone to have a class and it's taking them forever to get it. Or if you're playing a character that you've exhausted all of the S, A, and even the B classes. And so you just I don't want to put them on a class they've already maxed out. But putting them on a C class, it just goes so slowly. But
yeah.
I like the idea of it. It's just overwhelming.
Do you like the flute playing?
I love it.
Yeah, it's very
so
nice.
Cute. And you could, get to choose which flute you want to hear, depending on who you control.
Does this mean that you have finished Final Fantasy 16?
Oh, no.
No.
I did the same. Well, I got mostly to the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I'm at the part where I know when I progress further, it's going to be the point of no return, and I haven't done everything I wanted in everything else. But then when I hit that point, same with Tears of the Kingdom, I get overwhelmed with all the stuff that you could or could not do. So then I moved to something that has a more linear path, which was Final Fantasy 16. But then I went back to Xenoblade saying, I need to finish it. But yeah, no, that hasn't happened yet.
Got it. Austin, what have you been playing?
Oh, what haven't I been playing? I played through the DLC for Fury, the Onimusha, I think it's pronounced, which it's just a different character playing through the same campaign. And that was pretty interesting.
Different abilities, or?
Yeah, so the main deal is you've got these two stances, and one is a fast-moving but weak-hitting stance where you also heal from any damage that you parry. Mm-hmm. The other one is very slow-moving but hits super hard. And both of them can build up this star meter, which once that's built up, you can push a button and go into a different mode where you just attack super hard and you're fast. But they build it up at different rates. So the really weak one builds it up very quick. The very strong one builds it up super slow. So there's a lot of things to balance of what you want to do. And it's another button to keep track of while you're doing fights super quick. So that was interesting. I did the DLC for Ghost Runner, Project Hell. That was pretty fun. And then I've been playing through Judgment very slowly. I'm 6 or 7 hours in. I'm still in Chapter 2. Working very slowly on Clonoa 2. And then I just recently started Iconoclasts and Remnant 2.
Wow.
Dang.
Oof.
That's so many.
I really liked Iconoclasts. I hope you enjoy it. I thought it was a lot better than I expected it was going to be.
I like it a lot so far. It's the art is kind of in the same ballpark as Owlboy, not quite on the same level, but it's it's
similar
in that league. And I've been enjoying the platforming and action a lot more than I did in Owlboy.
Nice. Aaron, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Factorio, which is a factory builder. Yeah, me and a friend are doing a big old spaghetti base. He's gotten further than I have ever gotten on my own, so it's kind of exciting to actually progress to to get close, within striking distance of actually finishing a single player run of that as best as you can finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been playing another kind of action RPG called Grime, which was a Epic Game Store freebie a week ago or so. And that's okay. It hasn't really sold me on it completely yet. It's it feels like Salt and Sanctuary a little bit. Kind of the floaty jump, kind of a Metroidvania mixed with gaining experience to boost a few stats. It's all right. It's got great reviews. So sometimes I play something and I realize, or I think that I'm just not getting what they all saw.
Right.
So I've only put about 4 hours into that.
Nice.
Only,
yeah.
4 hours of my life I'll never get back.
I've been playing. Well, Fall Guys has a new Fame Pass, and they added it's a collab with Death Stranding. So I've been playing through that with Austin. We also started Exoprimal just to try it out. And Aaron, I think you've tried out Exoprimal.
Yeah, I posted in the Discord about it. My kind of initial reactions. Were you guys able to team up at all?
We were,
good.
and we I think we both prefer the PvP stuff at the end.
Yeah, it's nice when you get that mode that lets you engage with the enemies. I wish there was more of that going on.
Yeah. For those who saw the videos, I mean, the trailers and stuff, and thought this seems really weird and I don't know about it, I would recommend at least trying it. It might be for you. It is, I don't know.
If you have Game Pass.
Yeah, if you have Game Pass. It's a full price game with a premium pass as well, which is kind of a little grimy. But
and the premium pass can only be purchased with money. You can't earn it in game.
Yeah. Also, Mox, you'll love to hear this. I have gone back to Ghostwire Tokyo.
Oh my goodness.
There was an update, and they added some additional side quests, some new abilities. They actually changed quite a bit, which was awesome. And they added a new mode, which is like a roguelike dungeon crawler type mode. It's really weird. There's floors, and each floor has some challenges that you need to do, and then you invest in your character, and then when you die, you reset, and depending on how many quests you've done and different things in that mode, you'll keep your stats are permanent, and then some of your other things become permanent the more you play. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm going to Japan in September, so it's a fun little it takes place in Japan sort of thing. I mean, a lot scarier part of Japan, or time in Japan, but yeah. I also built my new computer, which I'm very excited about, and I pushed it to the limits with some not to the limits, but I looked at some pretty graphics with Metro Exodus, the enhanced edition, yesterday. That was pretty cool.
I don't think you'll be pushing the limits on that for a while.
Yeah, no, not for a while. Before we get started talking about Axiom Verge 2, this is Video Game Club, where usually every 2 weeks we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that game right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV, except this episode does not have a live stream. And don't worry, because it's going to be on YouTube and all major podcast services. Just search Bombchu Video Game Club. You'll find it. You've already found it. If you're listening to this episode, you already know. You already know what to do. So if
you know.
Yeah, and if you appreciate what you're hearing, please consider subscribing, rating, commenting, all those things, and jumping into the Discord and nominating a game for us to play in Video Game Club. Because the next game we play after Axiom, the one coming up here, is from nominations from viewers and listeners like you.
Thank you.
The nominations for this episode came from Austin, and they were Teslagrad Remastered, Scapegoat 2, and Axiom Verge 2. And the winner was Axiom Verge 2. Of course. No one here played a Scapegoat 2 by chance, did they?
No.
I've played it a few times, just not in the last 2 weeks.
Axiom Verge 2, it's a 2D Metroidvania developed and published by Thomas Happ Games. We've played Axiom Verge 1. Mm-hmm. I think across the board, everyone was pretty liked it pretty well. Mox, I can't remember.
Yeah, me neither. We should have written it down.
Oh, okay. Little thing about Thomas Sapp Games, before he went independent, he worked on some different AAA games, such as NFL Street, Tiger Woods, and Grey Goo. Axiom Verge 2 released August 11th, 2021 on Switch, PS4, and Windows, came later to PS5, Linux, and Xbox One. 2021, in gaming, we had the Switch OLED, the Analog Pocket, the Atari VCS, and the Evercade VS, or Versus, I think. Software, we had Yakuza Like a Dragon, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Skyward Sword HD, Far Cry 6, and many more, including a bunch of games that we've already played for Video Game Club. I won't make you guess them all, but everyone should try to guess one, starting with you, Austin.
Death's Door?
Death's Door, correct.
Yo.
Aaron, would you like to guess? From games that we've played, I know you may not know them all, but
I know you're a number one fan, so just
put you on the spot.
Dead Space.
Oh no, not Dead Space. Mox?
I agree. I don't remember what year that was.
No, not agree. You always say agree. It's great.
I know.
No. So we had Metroid Dread, Inscription, Grow, Scarlet Nexus, Before Your Eyes, Tales of Arise, and The Forgotten City. 2021 is it's a big year for Video Game Club. We played a lot of them.
We stay in 2021.
Yeah, we do. So the game was reviewed quite well. It got 7s and 8s. People really liked it. People liked that it was very different from Axiom Verge 1. They enjoyed the new biomes. Big fans of the Breach. Some of the cons, the combat was a little simple. The boss fights were a bit underwhelming, and there was a lot of backtracking, which that's kind of a staple in Metroidvania.
Yeah, especially being a sequel to Axiom Verge.
Yeah, it's kind of expected. All right, let's move on to that discussion. Let's talk about their gameplay. The 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, Axiom Verge 2. Lots of exploring, lots of items and abilities. You can play in 2 forms, lots of upgrades through a skill tree. Bosses are optional, and there's 2 parallel dimensions. Aaron, did you enjoy this gameplay?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I thought the controls were as good as you can ask for a 2D Metroidvania. You know, it's got the wall, the ledge grab. Your character is snappy. It never felt like I was struggling to move it around. You said the bosses are optional, and I think the bosses are kind of a weak point because there's only like 2 designs, and you can't just walk by them. There's never the rewards for beating them are, I think, just upgrade points, and it doesn't make an area feel like it has a capstone. And you know what? I'm forgetting there was like a giant worm boss also. Then that was kind of unique. That was a unique
scenario. One. Yeah.
But generally, I felt like there wasn't a capstone thing for an area.
Bosses were kind of non-events, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Aaron, are you a big Metroidvania fan, typically?
Yeah.
Like, do you search those out?
I do. I've played quite a few. I think that they're easy games to beat, especially if they have some sort of level up system, because you can grind. And if they don't, then you probably have all the tools you need to get through whatever challenge you're facing. So I can kind of bash my head up against them until I beat them. But no, I enjoy the genre. I enjoy both Castlevania and Metroid. And I think this is a perfectly cromulent Metroidvania. I think my notes say this is as Metroidvania-ass as you can get, because this checks all the boxes.
Right. Mox, did you enjoy the gameplay of Axiom Verge 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Did you enjoy this more than Metroid Dread?
No.
No. Okay. I was just curious.
I mean, even though I beat this one and I struggled, I could not beat Metroid Dread. That one, I don't know. It was more put together, maybe.
Yeah.
More interesting.
Yeah, definitely that. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I was a little bit hesitant just looking at it beforehand. It seemed like it was going to be too different. And there is stuff that I wish was more similar to Axiom Verge 1, but once I reached a certain point in the game, I was able to enjoy the differences of this one. Definitely a lot of exploration. I liked that. I was so used to not having a fast travel in the first game that when I unlocked fast travel, I didn't use it for like a few hours.
Oh, wow.
Just forgetting that I had it.
Oh.
And then I finally realized it. But one thing that I really like between both Axiom Verge 1 and 2 is anytime that there's something you're blocked off from, you think of a traditional Metroid game or something like that and go, okay, it's probably going to be this kind of power or something like that that'll get me there. And when you actually unlock whatever it is that you need to get there, it's always a surprise. Like, oh, I really didn't expect that to be the mechanic that was gonna get me there. But it keeps it interesting for sure.
As far as the skill tree goes, Mox, was there anything that you like invested in first or anything?
The hacking of the level, because that was like obvious that you needed to be a high level to hack certain things as soon as you got that power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the first ones that I did too. That and health, basically. Did anybody have any like favorite abilities or anything, Austin? Did you have a favorite ability?
The grapple, the slingshot grapple.
Does that count? You couldn't play the game without it?
You didn't have it for a bit.
Yeah.
So once you got it, and it took me a little bit of time to get used to, but once I got used to it, I abused it. Like if I could do anything by jumping, or I could do it by grappling, I was going to grapple. Like, oh my god, so much speed. It was that was easily my favorite ability of the game.
I think the mobility tech in it is really good. Like, I can't remember if you get a double jump by the end, but the fact that, just as you were saying, the way it solves those problems by giving you the grapple, giving you the hover ability, like you can start really zipping around the maps, which is great. And really, the fast travel is one of the best implementations of fast travel in the genre, because you can do it from anywhere to any save point that's like on your level of the breach or not breach. So you can warp somewhere, go get one item, and then immediately warp to another area. It just was really, really fast. Instead of having to go to a special teleporter and then zipping to another teleporter somewhere.
There is one item that you get that makes it very easy to go from one side to the other, but not vice versa. And I really wish... I wish that there was... I wish that once you got that you could just fast travel into the breach.
Yeah, because you do have to find where there's a save point right next to a breach portal.
Yeah.
And there's like two spots where that exists. But yeah, I remember. I get that.
Yeah. The grapple was tough for me initially. I think by the end I became a fan, but I think Moxie had a similar problem where like I would try to do a diagonal and it wasn't having it. It wasn't a big fan. So I basically...
so tempting to push the stick in the direction you want to go.
Yeah. So I just eventually did what you said, Mox, and just let it do its own thing, and it was more enjoyable, but it just fell off, basically. Okay. Let's move on to them visuals, that vibrant pixel art. Mox, this game had like some... In the visuals, it also had like some, I guess it's more of the artwork, but it had like a Sumerian influence. It looked like an old, them old civilizations with the style and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you a big fan of the visuals?
Just like nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Nothing that I don't know. I feel like there were bigger things in Axiom Verge 1 that like when you approach them, you're like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bosses too were like more intricate, it seemed. At least that's my memory.
I agree.
Yeah. Austin, you were going to say?
Yeah, fully agree. Visuals were another thing that kind of put me off from trying this game for a while, because it just looked so different. from Axiom Verge 1, and one of the big draws for me is the big white face with the tubes coming out of it.
Yeah.
The way that's done in the pixel art, it's weird looking, but it's so gorgeous. Like, oh my gosh. And what a cover for that game. The interiors in Axiom Verge 1, like, a lot of that is very inspired by Metroid, which I think is a very good thing. But it still does its own thing, and everything's just super pretty and just these garbles of pixels and spots where it's, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was it's cleaner, it's more outside, and that's fine, but it doesn't stand out as much. And I know, I was reading, apparently Thomas Happ decided to do like an outside setting because he was bored with doing just interior tile sets and all that.
Fair.
But they're so good looking. And there's a part in here where you kind of like go into an old area from Axiom Verge 1, and I got so hyped because everything was looking good again, and that was short-lived. But yeah, visually, I wish it was closer. I wish I liked it more. But it nothing bad about it. It was not as appealing to me.
Yeah, Axiom Verge 1 just seemed more special in some way.
Yeah.
Aaron, did you play Axiom Verge 1?
I did. I didn't beat it. I can't quite place what area was being referenced with Axiom Verge, but I thought the graphics were perfect for what it was trying to accomplish. Like, it was easy to see the characters. There's plenty of monster designs. Like, I didn't think that any of the monsters got a palette swap, or the enemies got.
Yeah.
You know, there was new versions everywhere you went. I did like how going into the breach went from like the 32-bit overworld to kind of a 16-bit look, where it's, you know, it's much more, I can't even, like, computerized, pixelated, like chunkier pixels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice little touch to keep things interesting as you're going between. It means like every area has two palettes from which to draw from. But honestly, the graphics all seemed fine. I thought that one of the character designs in the back half of the game looked kind of weird. I don't know if I ever got really used to it, but good pixel art.
Yeah, I think I prefer the Breach style to like versus the Overworld personally. Man, it's so good. Breach was so cool. Moving on to the audio. So the soundtrack was by Thomas Happ himself, and it had vocals by I'm gonna mess up this person's name. I apologize. Mesa Kara. She's a Lebanese singer, and it's very similar to the first one. Like, you know, there's different parts that it feels just like an expansion of the first soundtrack. And I don't know, me personally, I was digging it, and I felt like a lot of regret when I realized I did not buy the vinyl for this, because I was really digging it. Austin, you have the vinyl though.
Oh,
I do.
And
I do. So I basically had wanted the vinyl for Axiom Verge 1 for a while, but it kept going for prices I didn't want to pay. And it finally got a repress some time ago, along with a new pressing of Axiom Verge 2. So I was just like, well, screw it. I'm going to play that at some point. I'll just pick up both. And when I listened to it at the time...
Before playing the game, right?
Before playing the game, I was just like, well, that was fine, but also I probably won't spend that again. And now that I've played the game and like spent more time having these tunes just kind of like rolling around in the back of my head for a long time, I gave it another listen, and I was like, oh, and that was that area, and this, so like I had more imagery in my head, and I guess knowing the songs more, I enjoyed it more. So, I like it's great on its own. Love it. There's lots of good tunes in there. And there were definitely areas where I would leave, and then I'd be like, oh, wait, no, the music's gone. I'm going back.
Yeah.
And I would go back to listen to that for longer. I still really like the soundtrack for Axiom Verge 1, though.
Yeah.
Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. They're both really good, But I think the soundtrack from 1 stuck with me more.
Yeah, there's something special about that first one. Mox, are you gonna add Axiom Verge 2 to a playlist to listen to?
No. I didn't mind it until it was taking way too long to get fast travel, and then I resented the different soundtracks as I was like, I have to go through that area again. I have to travel. Tired of listening to it.
That's fair. Aaron, hum us a tune from the game.
I can't do that.
I'm just kidding.
I can't do that for you. I think it's a treat when you have an area that has a vocal track, like Sneak In.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the western area, it's like the cliff sides or the old cities. And yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
So
awesome.
he can hum you a tune.
Yeah.
You got the wrong guy.
It back.
Jeez. Wow. All right. Controls and interface. I played this on the PS5, and I thought it did really well for the haptics, as far as like that goes. Controls, for me, the grapple was a bit tough. I liked the interface a lot, but I would have loved if in the map interface that you could have put different color markers. That would have been really beneficial. And if you press the like PlayStation, the big button, does that have a name, Mox? Do you know?
Big button.
The big
touch PlayStation button?
No, like the touchpad thing.
Yeah, it's touch. I thought it was touchpad. Is it not that?
Yeah, maybe it is that.
Oh,
so if you
okay.
touch the touchpad and you press start, they're like the same, or the equivalent of start on a PlayStation controller. They bring up like the same thing. And I also would have liked if the touchpad brought up the map and the start button was like the other menus, because it would just, so like say you were in the skill tree upgrading something and then you stopped, you explored, and you're like, oh, I want to tag this on the map. You'd open up, you press the touchpad, it'd bring you back to the skill tree again.
Oh my god.
And
that's actually a feature of the game. That's not a PS5 only thing, because the map button on PC also will then go to the skill tree if you've tabbed over to the skill tree at all.
Oh, well,
it's different from the start menu.
Man.
But oh my god.
That
drove me a little crazy.
That part of the interface of this game was a bit frustrating for me. Aaron, how did you feel? Controls and interface, Axiom Verge 2?
I thought most of it was fine. Most of it contributed to kind of quickly moving around. My one big quibble that stuck with me was there was a period where towards the beginning, where I spent a long time traveling around as a drone, and then I got to the end of the area and I needed to push a button, and instead I pushed the button that sends you back to your body. The hacking button. No. I meant to hack, and instead I sent my body back. So then I had to go through that whole area again. It was a little frustrating. It's like maybe make me hold that button for a second before you kill my drone and send me back. But for the most part, I felt like it was responsive, and things made sense. It's the developer's second game of the style. Yeah. So it kind of shows that. Oh, actually, the anytime you get a memo, whenever you pick up a memo, I felt like that screen was really could have been fleshed out more. Like it shows you the text, but it doesn't really show you that you can scroll down.
Yeah,
and it doesn't. There's not a lot of embellishment there. It's a little plain.
Yeah, I ran into that as well. And Aaron, you just reminded me of the how you would use your abilities on PS5. It was like by pressing in the right stick, like R3. That was how you use things, and that was just kind of like a weird button.
Really?
For not like so like.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. The special power like explosion.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird. Mox, what'd you think?
Nothing to write home about. I did accidentally send my drone back when I didn't mean to, like 2 or 3 times, and it is like, I made that sound every time. It's killer. And I didn't like how you can't like you can't fast travel into the breach, but you can fast travel out of the breach.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I was like, oh, it's because I need to be the drone. No, you just can't. It doesn't make sense. Why can you fast travel out of the breach, but not into it?
Yeah.
Gameplay reasons, probably.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I think the main reason is so that fast travel mechanic from the breach is you enter that spot on in the real world, the overworld, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you did try to do that vice versa, like not every place has a corresponding tile in the breach.
I'm talking about like a save point, though.
Oh, for sure. I fully agree that I think they should have made it so that you could just because you said you could fast travel out of the breach.
Is that true?
I don't think you actually could.
What?
But you could immediately leave the breach wherever you were and then fast travel somewhere else, right?
Yeah. That's how I did it. I don't know that
Maybe
I ever
you could
specifically tested from the breach out.
Yeah, I never tried it actually. Could. Maybe. I didn't try it personally.
I think it makes
I can't speak with any definitive knowledge on that. I that was my understanding, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's just a concession to some of the story elements too about you getting into the breach is supposed to be very difficult. And you can only do it through those portals, but you have the getting out of the breach is easier because you're supposed to be on the other side of the breach. You're not supposed to be in the breach. So I can give it a pass if it's trying to stay like narratively consistent.
Yeah.
But keep going, Mux. Sorry.
No, that was it.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
That was the one problem.
Moving on to performance. Mox, did you play it on PS?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, Austin. I apologize. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So like you said, the weirdness of like for me it was pressing the back button, but you had multiple tabs there, and it should always default to the map.
Mm-hmm.
For the love of God.
Yep.
I know that people had struggle with the grappling hook. I'll consider that part of controls. I initially did too, because I thought I was treating it like a Metroid grappling hook. Hold the button, do a swing, and then try to get over that way. And really, they named it aptly by calling it a slingshot, because it really does work more like a slingshot. And if anyone out there is playing, don't hold the button down. Tap it.
Yeah, yeah.
It will latch onto something. If you hold it, it won't latch. I don't know why that is, but I liked that I could latch onto walls and jump off of those. I did not like how often I got stuck on walls because of having that power.
Yes. And you're like, it doesn't let you do anything.
Yeah. Like you can't, I'm going to deploy my drone. Nope. No, you're not.
Nope.
You're falling down
you're
first.
Here.
Yeah.
There was also like a meter that would show up when you latched onto a wall that seemed to imply that you were going to be able to do more wall jumps, but I never found a way to increase that meter.
No.
So I don't even know why they showed it, because basically you latch on, you're at half meter. Once you jump off of that, you can't latch onto a wall anymore.
So you didn't do the shrines and find the spirit orbs and return them to the statue and then increase your stamina?
I did notice. So, like you said, the right thumbstick pushing that in to do stuff was kind of weird. I got used to it, and so it was a non-issue. But I noticed somewhere in the interface that it seemed to be implied that you could assign something to left trigger, and I forgot to do anything about it, and it didn't really hit my mind again until you mentioned the right thumbstick in thing. Did anyone manage to attach something to the left trigger?
Yeah, it becomes something gets assigned there by the end.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what ability it is exactly.
Maybe I just didn't find that ability.
Yeah, something does get assigned there. I can't remember what it is, but
oh my god, what was it?
I know.
I bet if I look at the wiki, the list of arms.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to spoil it. I'm looking and we'll get back to it.
We can save it. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, overall, very much enjoyed the controls, getting around. Just little bits and bobs in the interface that I wish would be a little more polished.
Yeah.
And the wall jumping. Ugh.
Yeah. Wall jumping was weird. All right, now moving on. Sorry about that, Austin. To the performance. Mox, did you play this on the PS5?
No, I played it on the Steam Deck.
Oh, how was it?
It was just fine.
Yeah, worked great.
Nothing to write home about. Nothing bad, nothing good.
Did your Steam Deck do all right since the repair?
Yes, the problem is that the right trigger relies on the case being very snapped together, which makes sense, to stop the right trigger before it bottoms out and hits the board. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's impossible for me to return the right side of my Steam Deck to being as squished. And so I do, like, when I pull the right trigger, it will hit the board, which I really shouldn't do. So I don't know what to do about that. But luckily, the Steam Deck allows you to, like, change all of the controls for anything. Yeah. So what I do is I just have the right trigger actuate, like, as a soft pull.
Oh.
I know. And so I don't have to
smart.
pull it all the way. It is, but gosh, is it hard? You want to bottom out.
Right.
Gosh, it's very hard to train myself to do it. But anyway.
Yeah, muscle memory and all that.
I appreciate that I could change it. Now, it's motor memory, not muscle memory. Muscles don't have memory, but your motor neurons do.
Sorry, motor memory.
Yeah, I have it. It's like asterisk correction anytime. Muscle memory. Wait, no. Motor memory.
Is it the shell that is causing the problem where that needs to be more snapped together?
Yes, but I can't. I tried gluing the tab, but there's no way to make it perfectly clasped together.
They do replacement shells if you're wanting to go that route.
I have to pay for that, don't I?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cheap, but I don't know.
Birthday present for Mox.
Oh my god! But what it is though is it's the top shell, not the back. And the top one is the thing everything is attached to.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd have to take everything out and put it into a new top shell. And that would take so long.
Gotcha.
I know.
Me and Austin replaced
that birthday present comes with
labor.
Service.
Yeah, labor.
Service and installation.
Yeah. Service and installation. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness. I'll look into it. But luckily, I can accommodate it. And this game relied a lot on the right trigger, which I didn't like. Because of my Steam Deck issue, but that's not the fault of the game.
Yeah. No bugs or anything, though.
No. I mean, not aside like the bugs in the game. I see the drone as a bug because of the word drone.
It's got a little spider bot energy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Aaron, what did you play on?
I played on Steam.
Yeah. No issues.
With a gamepad. No issues. No. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what that last button is used for.
Well, I want to get to the spoilers. I can tell you. I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I had no issues with it. Everything ran fine. No,
nice.
The volume, the audio leveling is a little much. Even
oh my god,
I had to turn it like way down.
Oh yeah. Now that you say something,
are so much louder than the music.
Yeah, that's true. Austin, performance issues.
Sorry, you caught me mid-drink. No performance issues. I played on Steam Deck and my PC, and one really nice feature is it uses the new type of Steam Cloud Save. So, anytime that you put your Steam Deck into standby, it will wait for a moment to upload your cloud save, and then if you play on PC, you don't have to have closed the game on Steam Deck. You can just go from that save and resume your progress, and then when you turn on your Steam Deck again, before it resumes, it checks to see if there's a new cloud save and loads that in, and oh man, mwah, loved it.
Nice.
So that was a good feature. Happy that was in there. Yeah, controls, visuals, sound, everything worked wonderfully on Steam Deck and on my PC.
Nice. I played it on the PS5 because I had it for free as part of a PlayStation Plus something or another. And I already mentioned this, but it did really well with the haptic feedback stuff with the controller. It's really cool.
Which is just
putting the in haptic feedback.
Oh my god! can't get enough of the fancy controller vibration of both the Switch and the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know how anybody on the Xbox is just like puts up with it not having those two features. I mean, on Final Fantasy 14, there's this one mount that is like a jellyfish thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn into that mount, the PS5 controller just makes like the slightest pulsating vibration that like is exactly what I imagine being in this mount would feel like. And someone went and tuned that because every mount has different vibrations.
That's cool.
I don't know how the Xbox people are like, oh, that's okay. I don't have that.
Yeah.
No, demand it.
Demand it. All right. We are now going to enter into spoiler territory as we discuss the story. Mox, Aaron, you guys have the floor to talk about the story. Mox, I know you wanted to talk about the ability thing, so now feel free.
Well, just it is the one that turns you into nanites.
Yeah, it's the mist form.
Right at the end.
Oh, yep.
Spoiler.
Oh, I forgot about
form of mist.
This game, like the story is meh. I think even the story of the first one wasn't the best, but it definitely had a contiguous story. And you learned something towards the end that was interesting and made you realize something about the whole story as you were going. Cool. This had nothing like that. You are Indra Chatari. You buy the company that owned the Ansible that sent you wherever in the first game and sends you wherever in this game because they went wherever using the Ansible, and so the people of that company were gone, and so she just bought like the dregs of this company. But then somehow her daughter has been the daughter that she doesn't really talk to is been captured. We don't know. She goes to the place where this team like disappeared, goes to the place where they disappeared too, and then it's like, all right, I want to get back, and everyone's like, yeah, you and all these other people here, so join the crowd. Right. And then you're like trying to find her, your daughter, and you keep going to Ansibles, and Elizabeth Hammond, the person who owned the company that accidentally transported itself here, is like, hey, you got to go to this other Ansible. Sorry, this one has really limited data. I can only put 5 characters in here, and I used them all to type up this to you. Sorry.
and then I said hi as well, so you know.
Oh yes. Meanwhile, you like collect arms, which were they in the first game? I thought they were.
Ooh,
I don't remember.
Not
like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the first one you get is the one who's like, "Hey, come to me," and you're like, "Wait, I'm drowning to get to you. That doesn't seem good." And you die. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I resurrected you. Don't worry about it." And then you're collecting more little powers, which are arms, which are people in the past who allowed themselves to be turned into spirit weapons, basically
nanite machines. Yeah.
And you learn the story of this world, which has the same theme of the first one, which is like people had all this technology and they revered it as godly. And then the technology got too much and they had to deal with it. Anyway, at one point, the arm that you met at first takes over your body. And so you're stuck as the drone. And then you get the power to turn into a robot of yourself. Android is the word I was looking for. And then you're like, you finally go to a place that is beyond the world you're in, and you meet up with Elizabeth Hammond and your daughter, but you have to hack a machine, which is uninteresting. That area, I was like, oh, we're going to learn something interesting here. Yeah. Nothing happened there.
It's very gray and just meh.
It's a prison, isn't it? It's like a detention center.
I thought they were at the detention center.
Yeah.
This was just the communication. It was the filter was the area's name.
Yeah, the filter.
Yeah, that's right. What's it called?
But there were so many doors that looked like they were going to open.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. Yeah.
Well, and earlier in the game, like just before that area, you also go to, I can't remember what it's called, but you go to a place where time passes 1,000,000 miles, a minute. And so when you go back to the world you came from, all of the humans that you had encountered with all turn into these gross, like, flesh bubbles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then you go and confront the thing that stole your body, and then you have to do an escape sequence to blow her up, and then the game ends.
And if you collect all the items, or like you get a high percentage completion on map and items, you get a little post-credit scene.
I'm sorry. Hold on. You just talked about that area where you go in and time passes faster, right? I remember that area. It had the big bug in it, right? You talk to the people, and then you go in the back, and there's like a giant robot bug. You have to climb up to go get an arm or something. Are you saying that when you leave there, all the humans that you've already talked to, they die?
No, they turn into those weird flesh things.
They transform into flesh creatures. Okay, I did not put those two. I did not put the cause and effect there together. I thought that maybe Indra's body was killing them off, or something was happening to them. But that's wild. I didn't realize that just by passing through there, you cause so much time to pass that they mutated.
What item do you get from that area?
It's one of the arms.
Is it one that you need? Because
yes.
I'm not sure that I did that.
Yeah, I'm 100% positive you did. It's one that's necessary.
You come in as a robot and you talk to 3 people who are on the other side of a barrier.
Yeah.
And then you go under them, and then there's a giant robot fly-looking thing in some water that you can't interact with. And then when you come out above them, you get one of the abilities.
Yeah.
I can't recall which one it is.
The emergence. That's what the area is called. The emergence.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
I don't think I ever saw the humans after that turn into flesh monsters. I think I still had humans.
I can't agree with you because I read all of those you could find little lore notes, packages, and one of them referred to this area and the effects it had.
Mm-hmm. I went...
No, I believe you. I'm just trying to figure out, like...
I went...
Like, a lot of what you're talking about is just... I don't know if something happened with me or... Because I swear to God, I still saw humans after that.
So you could still see them. Like, there's the guy that's in the top left corner. There's the ocean there.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you go talk to him, he's a weird... What did you call it, Mox? A flesh monster or whatever?
He's like a balloon, a flesh balloon.
Yeah, flesh balloon. He is. And he's like, go away! And he looks like, he looks weird.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I was really wondering what the purpose of that area was.
Yeah, it was weird.
That sounds really cool. I wish I had noticed that. Maybe I just didn't notice it, and I'm awful.
That is where you get the slingshot.
It's really cool that's there.
So you get the slingshot, yeah.
So you can't. You have to get the area.
Yeah.
You have to. I definitely went there because I remember talking to the people behind the barrier. I don't remember seeing fleshy monsters replace the people.
I remember them being replaced at some point, and I remember by that point I had fast travel too. So
I'm gonna re-download the game. I'm gonna just go fast travel around and
look at flesh monsters.
I want to go look at them so I can get more.
Yeah, I don't think you never have to go through those areas again. You can safely bounce past them or away from them.
For sure, but I got stuck multiple times, and then I was just like, let me go re-explore these areas. So like I specifically went back to those spots. I'm guessing I was just moving super fast, and I was just like, I've talked to these people already.
Yeah.
And I probably just completely ignored them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened. Well, one thing we kind of glossed over is
the swap?
The person who takes your body ends up taking... she swaps into another body one more time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you get this weird thing with your original body, then goes to stop her right there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole question of, okay,
who are you?
Me? Is that me? Who's who?
Oh yeah.
For 0.5 seconds, and then we don't care about it
for a very quick moment.
Yeah.
I do like, there's kind of this little subtle thing where Indra the robot looks at Indra the body after the person who was inside of you, the arm that was inside of you leaves to go take over the super weapon that becomes the final boss. She's like, oh, she's not breathing. It's like, okay, I believe that you're a tech genius, but I don't know that you're a doctor, right? I don't know that you can... I don't trust your ability, because obviously she's wrong.
Yeah,
right?
She's wrong.
Because Indra comes back at the end.
Yeah.
So she's like, nope, this is definitely a corpse. I should move on. You're a capitalist. You're not a scientist.
It's very true. So, Mox, you said that you didn't really enjoy the story too much.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. The first game had, like, your person was, like, interesting once you learn your player character's backstory.
Right.
And, like, you uncover what had happened before you got to this world through your work there, and it matters to you because it affects the who the antagonist is in the final fight. And all that information, like, comes together in a, oh, wow, I understand now thing. And you understand the motivation of why this happened, like why the conflict of the game occurred. There's not really an antagonist because the reason you went to this world is completely unrelated to, like, who you fight in the end. Yeah. There's no story.
They're just like an issue along the way, right? Like, to getting back to where you're trying to go.
It's like they're two totally separate things, and you kind of cause the problem that you have to fight in the end. But that also, it wasn't like an existential thing that I cared about. Although it was existential in the game, it didn't matter to me.
You get this. Sorry, go ahead.
It's you and the antagonist both have the overlap in what you're doing is purely coincidental. It seems like.
It's in many ways it's more the antagonist's story. Like, we get so many documents that talk about what happened thousands of years ago on this world that we've teleported ourselves into. And we learn about the struggles of one civilization fighting another civilization and their arms race and the creation of the arms and the rebellion of the arms. And we get a lot of this, and we get very small snippets of the humans, the modern day humans that have gone through the portal and have wound up here, talking in big strokes about the lattice connection of the different the world structure and the way the universe realities are filtered down from a great tree. But we learn way more about the villain and her motivations than we do about Indra and her motivations. Like, I missed that she got a note from her daughter initially. She saw the first Ansible says, if you want to see your daughter, go here. But we never learn why her daughter's there. We never learn why they're in a detention thing past the filter. We never learn, like, what really sparked this situation or what's driving Indra to keep going forward, aside from or why Hammond's group never interacted with any of the arms. They are still all in their own vases, and none of the people are running around. So what's been going on with them? We know so much about the world, and we never even see the culture that they've been fighting against, but they're like storm bombs and things. Unless we're supposed to infer that Lamassu, the AI god, like, was orchestrating them also, because you have kind of breach bombs, which might be the same thing.
Yeah.
I uncovered what those fleshy things are.
Okay.
So it is the result of infection with a pathogen, that is found in the breach. From the first game, the antagonist released the pathogen in the breach because they were, like, using the breach against people who wanted to use technology. So when you enter the breach for the first time, if your hitbox intersects any of the NPCs in this game, 120 minutes later, they will turn into that big bubble thing.
Wow.
That's why I didn't encounter it. That's crazy.
Wild.
That is insane. All these people found it by digging into the code. I can't believe that.
That's nuts.
That's really cool. Thank you for finding that. I felt like I was a crazy person for not seeing these. I thought I was just a truly a moron.
Well,
oh no. And
that's really cool.
It's interesting too because in the emergence are smaller versions of what the humans turn into, and apparently if you go back to the emergence, they will be bigger.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like sometime later. Isn't that weird?
That's crazy.
I know.
Crazy. All right. Moving on to personal takes. feel free to talk about spoilers if you need to for this part as well. Let's start with Mox.
I liked this game. Although I didn't like it as much as the first game, it was still an okay game. I forgot to mention it. It just came to me. The accessibility options, so good. You can tell the game what like percentage, times 1.5 or whatever, how much extra damage or like less damage you want your character to take, how much extra or less damage you want your character to deal. Like just perfect. I like fine-tuned those as I played the game and acquired more upgrades. And it just made the game so much more enjoyable because I struggled to stay alive at the beginning. So I gave myself a larger handicap as I acquired more apocalypse flasks. I think that's what they're called. I was like, I can reduce my handicap. And it was perfect. It made the game just the right amount of difficult.
Hell yeah.
Except for the times I accidentally, sent myself back to my human when I meant to be a drone. But that the game will never fix. That was just my mistake. So just based on the accessibility options alone, and you even get an achievement for messing with the accessibility options.
Oh, what?
The way. I know. Isn't that so sweet?
Wow.
It's just adorable.
All right, booting it back up. Didn't know.
If this game was the worst game ever, I would still give it like just a 5 based on all of that. Because that is just like best.
Chef's
But the
kiss.
game was good. Yes. The game was good by itself. I do think it was a bit of a letdown given what Axiom Verge, 1 was. I wish the story, he had so much opportunity to make the story, I don't know, really wrap in Axiom Verge 1, extend, the story, expand on the world. And I felt like he just kind of stayed with the same stuff that we knew from 1 and didn't really build on anything in an interesting way, which was disappointing. And I wish the main character had more significance to the story. She was kind of unrelated, which was disappointing. And I love this game for the lore, the crazy lore, the thing, about the infection. What is that? That's crazy. Why didn't we hear more about that? You know? Anyway, it was just like a letdown from that perspective. But the game was playable. It was fun. I liked the mechanics of switching between the drone. Initially, I was kind of resistant to it, but then when you got so much mobility for the drone, I was like, great, this is fine. I don't mind being the drone because I initially was very resistant. So I think I'll give it an 8.
Nice.
And that's only because of the story and then some difficulty I had with making the drone do what I wanted it to. Other than that, it was excellent.
Nice. Aaron, what about you?
I mean, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 or something. I think it's a perfectly fine example of the genre. I just don't think that it, even with its gimmick of the drone and the mobility and the two worlds, the breach and the not breach, and the overarching story, I just don't think that it comes together in a way that really, really wowed me. It was a perfectly fine game to play, and I'd recommend it. I just don't think that it would be like a top game of the year for me if I played it. I also just want to take a second here to talk about something that I mentioned in the Discord with the game that's by one creator, right? This is a Tom Happ production, something that he's really focused on. I think that we can read a little closer into how what happens to Indra and the transformations that she goes through and how that's represented in gameplay. So something about Thomas Happ, this game is dedicated to his son, Alistair Happ, and his son, due to some medical malpractice, has a pretty severe neurological damage.
Oh.
So he can't do a lot of things that that he was probably hoping his son would be able to do. And I think that when you have that sort of situation in your life and you're writing a story, a lot of that leaks through. Like you see that with Damu, who is the arm that gives you the ability to summon a drone and later gives you the ability to form your drone back into a human form. And the reason they used kids, the process of turning somebody into an arm is to basically dissolve them into nanomachines to take their consciousness out. Like, you don't survive the process.
Right.
Damu and all these, the humans that were turned into arms, exist as like AI nanite constructs, and that's how they'll always be. So Damu is a child who'll never grow up, and he was chosen because children have this like enhanced potential. They have more ability to, they have more ability to adapt and to be used as better weapons in the narrative of the story. That's why they used a little kid. And at the end of the game, Indra's basically resigned to never getting her body back. She wants to help Damu get his.
Yeah.
But when you turn into the drone, when you lose your body, right, it's a pretty big plot twist. You're not expecting it. Now you're stuck as this drone. And the drone has been weak and slow and useful basically just for getting in the breach and going in small spaces. And suddenly, you don't have your human form anymore. You were pretty attached to your human form because it could climb on walls or climb up ledges and attack with bigger weapons. So it's kind of a blow. But as we go through the game, you gain more and more abilities because you're not a human. You gain the slingshot. You gain the ability to hover. You wind up, even when you get the ability to go back into your human form, I don't know about you, but I spent more time as the drone because it was 100%. Better. Because it was, you kind of sacrifice your human form to gain things that your human form would never be able to do. And it's this transhumanist take on, what can technology do for us? We can get rid of the body that's not working for us and give us something that makes it easier for us to get around or easier for us to tackle things. And we might become so used to becoming a little spider bot that we don't even really miss our human body. At the end, Indra doesn't miss her human body. She comes up with a new name for herself because she's a new creature. And you don't see this a lot with really large productions unless they're like made by an auteur director,
right.
Like Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
But when you have one person who's guiding the whole story production, it's hard not to try to look in and see where the author has made themselves and their life story, kind of part of the design.
Yeah.
Thank you for that background.
Yeah. So a 7, right, Aaron?
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah. Austin, what about you?
So as being called Axiom Verge 2, it invites comparison to Axiom Verge 1. And so, Axiom Verge 1 came at a time when Metroid was dead, right? And people wanted more 2D Metroid desperately. This is before Samus Returns remake. This is before Metroid Dread. Like, 2D Metroid had been dead for quite some time. And I think that's why Axiom Verge 1 is so heavily based on Metroid in terms of visuals, in terms of the mechanics of shooting, being your main attack, things like that. It was the Thomas Happ was making the change he wanted to see in the world. He wanted to see more Metroid. He put that into the world himself, right? Axiom Verge 2 came at a time when Metroid was more alive and well, and Metroidvanias in general, like the need for something to fill that void had kind of been met. And so maybe that's why he decided to make it so different from Axiom Verge 1, but like one thing we didn't really bring up is Axiom Verge 1, your main attack is ranged, and you get all these different types of weapons to attack in different ways. And in here, you have your main form of attack is melee. You do get a ranged attack, but it's not.
That boomerang don't count.
Yeah, no. It's not the same. Like it's really an alt attack that you can use sometimes, right?
I have that in my notes as well.
I wish this had not been called Axiom Verge 2. Right, like maybe, because it's not really a sequel story. It's kind of a story that takes place in the same universe. The mechanics are very different. The visuals are very different. The theme and the tone. I wish it had been called something else to seem like less of a direct
What if it would have
sequel?
been called like Axiom Verge and then like a word? You know what I mean?
I think that would have helped. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because then you get the
recognition
indication that, hey, this is related to it, but it's not really a sequel. I I very, very much, just like you, Aaron, once I got the drone to a certain point, I was like, oh, I actually really prefer being the drone, and I like your take on why it kind of was intended to be that way. I wish bosses were more of an event, like maybe the music changes, or you're in more of an arena or something like that. Even if you could skip them, I like the idea that you don't have to, that you could do this as a pacifist run. But, if I do want to go and defeat the bosses, I'd like it to be kind of an event. I really loved the grapple, the slingshot. Like I can't explain to you how much. Like once I was good at that, I was just zipping around, and that felt really great. And I think that's why I didn't use fast travel for a while after I had unlocked it, because it was actually really fun to go traverse, and I think that was a really good thing to do. There's just, like you said, the story I was less involved in. I was fine with that being a melee person by the end, but initially it took some adjustment on my expectations. I thought the powers were creative. They always kept me guessing on what. Oh my god, the spots where it looked like there should be red portals.
Ugh.
I was like, what's going to happen with these? And the idea that you get a power to attract a red portal to you, but it needs to be in a spot where it can rest. That was just...
Oh, it doesn't have to be in a spot where it can rest. You can drag it wherever.
Yeah, you can.
I was in a spot where I had dragged it to the side of a room that had a statue in it, and it wouldn't let me in. But when I put it on the statue, it let me in.
Was there blocks in the breach or on the other side?
Maybe. I didn't think to check on that. So yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, creative powers. I gotta tell you, before I reached the halfway point, I stopped reading the lore. Every page I picked up, I was like, oh, this is a lot. This seems like, this is an email from somebody to somebody else who I'm not seeing any of these people.
Much.
Oh,
yeah. I wish they did more show, less tell. That's a big thing for me. And most of the people that you're talking to or talking about are never shown. And I get why, but also I like to see.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump in because we haven't really talked about hacking at all. And hacking was such a huge part of Axiom Verge 1. Like it felt like you were hacking the world constantly.
Yep.
And in this one, you get the ability to hack things pretty early on, but I also upgraded it pretty early because I realized that this is a key, right? And there's not a lot of keys in the world, so this is one I have control over. I don't want to get to a door I don't have the right key for. But aside from opening doors and some of the traversal stuff, I really thought that it was underused. It's fun for the bosses, right? Because you can hack a boss and tell it to overheat or tell it to shut certain parts down. Although by the end, you don't need to do that. You're just powerful enough to kind of face tank all the encounters. But a lot of enemies let you convert them to your side. And this is such an underused thing. I can think of one puzzle or one item that you can get by doing this. And otherwise, if you spend the time and the resources to try to hack an enemy to being an ally, then you leave the room. And then it's gone. It's like, give me, it's no different than just shutting it off. They don't seem to attack enemies very well. The ability to track their fire on another enemy is kind of lacking. It seemed a little half-baked. Like they put the functionality in and then they didn't really worry about making sure it felt like it was a useful addition or that I wanted to. There was never a situation where you can hack enemies and then bring them to a boss and they help you, right? Or there's never a time where you need to hack an enemy to shoot something that you can't reach so that you can then open a path and get across. It was useful to get health sometimes. It was useful to move platforms around, but other than that, you could. And I tried to use it quite a bit, but it just felt like kind of a waste of a button at sometimes.
Yeah, I honestly forgot after I unlocked several doors and didn't hit one for a while that I could unlock, I forgot I had hacking to the point where somebody asked me to hack something, and I was trying to push a button. I think, Mox, you had the same thing happen to you. I was trying to figure out what button to push to activate it. I was like, what the heck? And then I was like, oh, they want me to hack it. I have a hacking power.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I liked playing this. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was not treated as a sequel.
Yeah.
But as a sequel to Axiom Verge 1, I think I would give it a 7. Which is, I sound kind of but there's a lot that's good in it. There's a lot that's good. There's a few little bits and bobs that I wish it had that would make it more.
Yeah. To me, this game is like, I like how different it is than Axiom Verge 1. And once I realized that it was different, I enjoyed the game a lot more. I like the variety of environments, and I really liked how exploration was handled. Once it became less of like combat focused, it seems more exploration focused, this game. And I love being able to ping spots on the map and stuff like that. So those are all the things that I really like. The things that I didn't like, I had the same thing as you, Austin, around the weapon variety, and I didn't like that the only long range weapon was the boomerang. That was kind of a bit, bosses were a bit underwhelming, and I think this happens in a lot of Metroidvanias on purpose. But to me, like you were kind of slow. Like it was a drip feed of abilities, and then at the end, it's just like a new ability, another new ability. Oh, and another one, and now you have another one, and now you can go here. And by then, in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can now go anywhere, And it kind of happens all at once instead of piece by piece, and kind of throughout the whole game. It was kind of a little bit and then a lot. And for me, I would also give this a 7 as well. Okay. We went a little late, but that's okay. This was a little dive in our take on Axiom Verge 2. Maybe it shouldn't be a sequel to Axiom Verge 1. You decide. Play it. Check it out. If you enjoyed hearing us discuss and want to join us for the next Video Game Club episode, stay put, because the vote just ended, and it was between Gravity Rush, which was nominated from Rec, Legend of Zelda Minish Cap from Clearin', and Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door from Chadworthy. And the winner is the Legend of Zelda Minish Cap.
Yay.
Yay.
They were all good.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for nominating games. Thank you, everyone who voted. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this, watching. The next episode will be August 6th at 2 Eastern. Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Mox, thank you.
Thank you.
And Aaron, thank you so much for being our lovely guest again.
Yes.
Thanks. Always my pleasure.
And special thank you to Andron, working behind the scenes. I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club episode 74, Axiom Verge, and we're out.